Hey everyone, welcome to the Kendo UI R3 release, our last release of 2023. Extremely exciting. We've got some very cool stuff to show you guys today, so I'm super glad that you're here. For those of you who maybe haven't joined us before, my name is Kathryn Grayson Nanz. I'm the KendoReact and design/developer advocate here at Progress. And let me hand it over to my good friend and coworker, Alyssa.
Hello, hello. I was trying to figure out how to unmute because that's something apparently I don't know how to do these days. So thank you for doing the introductions. I am so happy to be here and so excited. I'm actually going to show this next one just so that we can have a bit of an outline before we jump into Angular. So today we have these web topics that we'll be covering for Kendo UI. Angular, React, Vue, and then jQuery. So that's the order we're going if you're looking for a particular framework. But yes, let us dive right in. But also we do have people from the dev team and people who just work actually on many different teams waiting in the wings to answer questions. So please post those to the questions or any comments or feature requests, things like that. We'd love to hear from you. All right, so for the Angular release, these are the highlighted ones. There was actually a lot of goodies, but we have two new components, the spreadsheet component and the pyramid chart, as well as some updates, which some of these I feel like could be elevated to the importance of a new component just because of how big they are. For instance, the context menu on the grid, it's a pretty big one. But we're going to be going through the features that were added as well to existing components or demos that were built and docs that were updated. So let's dive right in. The spreadsheet is our first one. As you can see here, she's quite lovely. She has built-in support for Excel files. You can easily import or export from the XLSX Excel file extension or JSON format if you are using something other than Excel, which I'm wondering. Actually, we really would love to know if anyone, because I was asking the team, I was like, does anyone use anything other than Excel for these days? So I think Kathryn had mentioned that there's a Google version. Numbers is also one, but yes, let me know in the chat if you use something other than Excel, because for me, it's always Excel files that are being thrown around. So the spreadsheet has a lot of features. So I tried to list them all out here, and then we'll dive into one of my favorites. You can create, edit, and manipulate, delete tabular data and inside the spreadsheet as you would anticipate. You can also edit, resize columns, rows, calculate formulas, and of course the import and export to Excel. Okay, so the spreadsheet, as you can see, has this really cool toolbar. I made this little video just now of me cycling through the toolbar. And it's this toolbar at least has the ability to help users create, edit, and style their data. And of course, it's customizable to what you want in the toolbar. But the home menu enables users to format and style the text in a different way to make it more readable and visually appealing. The insert menu right next to that provides an easy way to insert and delete rows and columns within the spreadsheet. And then file, of course, you can see there's a little download one, downloadability. So I absolutely adore this, and the docs, mwah, chef's kiss, and we've had some updates actually to the docs, and we're going to talk about that near the end. But it's really, there's so many things that are outlined as far as like new features on this spreadsheet that they ship with. So please go check out the docs. I have all the links underneath the titles so that you can go and see these new components for yourself. The next one is the pyramid chart. Very exciting, and I did this little hover GIF so you could see some of its features happening. I think, yes, I was like, I think we have some details. So it's a free-form chart displaying singular series of data as pyramid segments, like you can see here. Each segment represents the value or particular item for the series. And the values of the items can also influence the height of the corresponding segments so that you don't get like a
dissected
pyramid.
Like a disproportionate, like, yeah. Oh, cool.
But I'm curious, Kathryn, did you get a pyramid? Do you have one? Is this?
I did get a pyramid. I did. It looks just the same. It's gorgeous.
Excellent, excellent. And we shall cover it for those of you who are like, just get to React. It's coming. It's coming.
We got, before you jump into the next one, we got a quick question on the spreadsheet that I want to pass over to you. Are we going to be able to add our themes to the spreadsheet? Which
yes. Out of the box. It is one of those required checklists for us to ship out of beta or out of preview. And so yes, absolutely. And Kathryn, she's not just covering React updates. Are you covering design or theme updates as well? Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I am so sorry. Can you do that before or after React? Because we're just gonna go ahead and like fix that.
Oh, it'll be right before React.
Right before. Excellent.
Yeah. So yeah, I will have just a couple quick updates on our new design system documentation and some updates that have been made to the theme builder. So not only can you add your own themes to the spreadsheet, I will be able to tell you in just a little bit some of the different ways that you can do that and the improvements that we're making in that.
Amazing. Perfect. So I think definitely tune in for that section if you're interested in theming and designing our components, because it doesn't matter whether you're using, it doesn't matter what component you're using, but it also doesn't matter what flavor. If you're on the web and you're using either Kendo UI or Telerik UI for web, then everything that Kathryn's going to cover is applicable and actually quite magnificent. So I'm excited for that section. All right. So those are our two new components. We also have some, like I said, some bigger features that are very exciting. Chart Trendlines. So the Angular charts have trend lines now that are automatically generated. And it's this indicator. I think I have, yes, I have more to show on the slide. It's an indicator that is showing the data trends over time, because often, as you can imagine, with vast amounts of data across a scatter plot or whatever chart you have, it's quite intense to see the average. And so this trend line is very exciting. The moving average trend line, on the other hand, because there's, I think there's like, there were so many different, let me see, did I get, yes, I have a screenshot here. There's actually quite a few different types of trend lines. So there's the linear trend line, the moving average trend line, and I think I have, yes, I was going to show you the differences between some of these trend lines that you can just visualize. And it's actually really cool. The team was like, oh, you need trend lines? Have all the trend lines. I was very surprised by the breadth at which they went. And so check out those docs. It's very cool. I'm going to actually minimize this real quick so that I can see the full screen. Okay. Yes. So charts now have trend lines, and those are nestled underneath charts, elements, and then trend lines if you want to check out those docs.
Speaking of charts, we did get another question. And tell me if you would rather me save these.
No, I absolutely want them dispersed whilst we're on the subject is much preferred.
Wonderful. Yeah, we had a question that said, are there ways that we can embed Kendo charts into the spreadsheet and connect them using the data of the spreadsheets? So I don't know that you can put them into the spreadsheets themselves, but I do know that you can connect the data, is my understanding. Yeah. So well, I'm curious.
I feel like with custom templates, like inside of your Angular template, I feel like you can pretty much do whatever you want. So like, even if we don't have documentation that's showing you step by step how to do that, and if you're one of the Angular devs on our component team, please chime in if you don't recommend someone trying this, but I feel like you could absolutely accomplish that. There's so many mixing and matching of our components, and actually React has a really cool one. I think you got it for Grid, so I'm excited where they like layer in things on top of our components. But I would love to hear if someone does that. Grid context menu, the chunky boy. I'm gonna clap for this one. So if you go to our grid, underneath accessories is where you can find the context menu details. And it's just an additional feature that you toggle, and it has, yes, context menu provides a way to apply data processing features to specific rows in our grid component. And so this is me, I took that screenshot of me right-clicking just right inside our docs and like adding adding records into it using this new context menu. But you can add, edit, and delete records, as well as select and reorder rows, and then of course export the component to a PDF or Excel file. And then this list of menu items here is customizable out of the gate. You can just rearrange the order or even create custom controls within this context menu. So, which is super valuable because I feel like every team that uses the grid has special needs. Like there's always some client that comes up and is like, I need X, Y, Z to happen. And so I love it. Out of the gate, you can just create custom controls right in there. Yes, TreeList is next. I put this one right after because the TreeList also has the same context menu with the same specs that I just talked about. So you see here, I'm within the TreeList and I'm right-clicking and I'm getting the same context menu. So it's very cool. And again, that's going to be underneath accessories under the TreeList docs. The Gantt now has date formatting in the timeline headers. And I do apologize for that URL. It's a hefty one, but underneath Gantt views, you can then find the formatting the timeline headers. But the new formatting functionality available in the Gantt component enables you to easily customize the date format on the timeline group and or column headers. And I put this part of the docs in here because I thought it was just super easy, like to utilize. You can customize the date format of the timeline group just by setting timeline headers date format camel case. I guess is snake case? No, snake is with the underscore, so it's camel, a lower camel case there. Yeah. And you set that property. I'm like, no.
I had to think about it too, though.
I'm like, it kind of looks snaky. No, it's not snaky.
It's like a snake if it just had a big meal, you know?
We can all envision it. But yes, that is the update to Gantt. TreeView now has conditional checkboxes that you can enable. And I think I have, do I have them? I didn't screenshot it. We might, if we have a hot sec, we'll go to that link because it's really cool. Essentially, it's the TreeView as you normally have it, but it's with now checkboxes that are beside each item that are like checked or unchecked. So you can attach that to those pieces of data within the tree. And it is with a has checkbox function that you can now enable that. What is next? Oh, yes. I thought I'd give you sometimes people like a behind the scenes sneak peek. So I wanted to show you one of the actual like PRs in the ticket with this specific one. So the date inputs, they have enhanced edit, and that actually encompasses a lot. So some of this says like improve copy and paste between the different date inputs, configure auto tab behavior, customize auto switch keys, disable mouse wheel changes, introduce caret mode, introduce autofill, and more. So there was quite a lot that got updated with that, but I wanted to come on, give you a sneaky peek of what some of these things look like. So the grid, there's a really cool demo now for Angular that has drag and drop between two different components. So here I'm dragging and dropping between our grid and our list view, which is just phenomenal. Like that's like as if that's not cool enough, because they're like, here's the code, right? Like someone was asking about nestling a chart inside of a spreadsheet, and I'm like, absolutely positive you can do it. But like, I love when the team shows, they're not only showing how to do it, but they actually have docs that walk through different parts. So yes, it's a new demo. It illustrates how the drag and drop between grid rows to a list view and vice versa. And yes, I highlighted some of the docs that I was talking about, because it's not just, okay, here's your demo. It's also, I went too fast on my, you have to see my Doge. She's so beautiful.
So cute.
I was like, I'm sure Doge is like so last year or like so 10 years ago, but it's fine.
You know what? We're millennials, and that's okay. It's just who we are.
So yes, it's not just the demo, but docs on how it was accomplished. So go check that demo out. I'm very impressed with the team. This is one of the things, I might even be more excited for this than our new components, because the new features coming out in Angular are so exciting to me. I'm so just over the moon that we not only support it, things like standalone, but that we are now showing you how you can implement Kendo UI for Angular components in a standalone application. So if you want to see that, you can go to any component and go to that Getting Started page, and then scroll down to Manual Setup, and then you'll be able to see one of the options is using standalone components. And so very, very excited about that. And honestly, I'm really excited for just the future of Angular. The next few years are going to be really, really cool. So, but yes, the Getting Started pages have the enhanced steps to add them to a modulus application.
Let me give you had a couple questions, so I want to shoot those your way. And then you can go ahead and do jQuery next if you like. I think that makes sense.
Good. Sounds good.
So a question about whether the context menus are customizable, whether you can go in and change like what gets displayed in a context menu and some of that. So
let's see. I'm going to move this off to the side. I don't know, and I would love, like, if one of the devs does know, because I'm going to actually go and check real quick in our docs, because I would love to know.
I do know that they are
customizable.
So yeah,
excellent.
There are a couple of various templates. I know
that we can have custom controls.
Yeah.
But what is that what they're referring to, or they're talking about more than that?
There are a handful of templates that allow for customization, and at least, I'm not sure about Angular, but in React, the context menu, I believe, is its own component. So it has been kind of integrated into these other components, but the documentation for the context menu itself, like that, it is that component. You know what I mean? Like, so yes, is the short answer.
Excellent. Yes. Here she is in all her glory, at least for Angular. She look a lot different for React.
With the context menu? No.
Oh. Okay. Excellent. All right. And then you said you had more questions. More questions?
Ooh, let's see. I think that was actually it. I'm looking through now. Oh, are there any breaking changes for themes or style? Which
that's a design question. Do we know? Because I don't know if any were surfaced from my side.
I was going to say, not that I'm aware of in general.
Okay.
So.
Excellent. All right. Well,
if you had any Angular specific knowledge.
No.
We do. I will throw out there, we have a couple of requests to do React next instead of jQuery, so I might bump you if that's okay. Is that all right? I do have a couple slides of design related stuff that's just built into my slideshow before we get to React, so we're going to do those real fast. It won't take me 5 minutes. First and foremost, somebody did ask about this also. They saw in the webinar description that we had mentioned enhanced front-end documentation. This is a huge part of that. For those of you that have not checked this out yet, we now have an entire set of design system documentation. And not only does that focus on some of the fundamentals for creating a design system, but it also really valuably breaks down each one of our components into kind of their pieces and takes a look at how to theme those things specifically, kind of user interaction patterns for each of those components. Super, super useful kind of documentation for design, really, which I think is something that really sets us apart. It's cool. Like, I'm biased, but it's cool. So if you haven't checked them out yet, give this QR code a scan and have a little poke around. But we've added several new components to this design system documentation. We've also added a few more like resources, assets. There's really helpful stuff in there in regards to like accessibility, and it's just all around worth taking a look. We also added a new feature to the ThemeBuilder. for those of you who may not be familiar, ThemeBuilder is our styling software. So you can use ThemeBuilder to create custom themes. You can implement design systems. You can import tokens from Figma and apply those. It's a really great just a no-code kind of WYSIWYG solution to theming all of our components. We have now added this feature variants, which allows you to basically duplicate a component and style it in a slightly different way. So that's really useful for things, especially like buttons, where you might have more than one type of button within a design system, like a primary button and a secondary button. Now you can just duplicate the button component, set one as primary, set one as secondary, and build those styles directly into your theme, which you can then export as production-ready code. It doesn't get much easier than that. There were a couple other smaller, maybe not smaller, but other ThemeBuilder updates. Support for SVG icons, 7 new components got added to advanced edit, which is huge. Support for negative values and metrics inputs, and we squashed a bunch of bugs. So an all-around improved user experience over with the ThemeBuilder. Now we are ready for a poll. So we can get our first React-related poll up and going. Are you familiar with React server components? Select one of the following. Yes, we are experimenting with them. Yes, we plan to use them. Yes, we're familiar, but we don't plan to use them. And no, what are you talking about? For folks who have a chance to respond.
Like server-side rendering for React kind of thing, or is this different than that?
No, it's basically, yeah. It's one of those things that's kind of catching on in like bits and pieces, but I hear it talked about more with folks that are not like influencers is maybe not the right word, that folks who get to play with the newest stuff all the time as part of their job. I hear it more from them than folks who are working on kind of ongoing or legacy applications. And actually thus far, I am seeing that reflected in the poll responses. I'm keeping an eye on those, but I'm not seeing a lot of changes. So I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. We can take a look at the results. With, 5% of folks experimenting, 5% with a definite plan to use them, 12% knowing what they are but not interested, and 78% not familiar. So that may be just because we have a mix of Angular and React folks, or maybe that, folks just aren't necessarily interested or familiar. So good info to have. Thank you all. We'd love to ask a couple of questions and see what everyone's interested in. So that being said, let's hop into React updates. First and foremost, accessibility enhancements and CSP compliance. As some of you may know, WCAG, the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, just released version 2.2. So that is the newest and best guidance around accessibility currently available. And all of our components now are up to date with the WCAG 2.2 standard. So we are compliant, WA ARIA, as well as section 508, and now, of course, WCAG 2.2. Similarly, we have been working on improving content security compliance. That is one of our biggest things that we've spent time on in this last year. We saw in the last release that switch from the font icons to the SVG icons as part of that. For R3, we are done. Yes, we took the final step. So we are CSP compliant. I guess, is that the right way to say it? Compliant. Anyway, it's not important.
Yes,
we are compliant. I felt a little bit like, when people say PIN number, and I'm like, ooh, did I just double up a little bit?
Yep.
But yeah, that was something
also
that our team.
We are CSP.
Unsure.
No. Yeah.
I'm not aware of the linguistics, but I can tell you we are compliant. That has been a huge goal, and we have hit it. So very exciting. We also have a handful of new components. First, our GridHelper. Sorry, I got kind of tangled up there. Our Data Grid GridHelper, which is a wrapper component that goes around our data grid and can kind of provide a couple of like quick links it makes it a little bit more user-friendly, especially for ones that are a little bit more complex, offers you a couple different ways to customize the grid as an end user. So all around, very handy. Another new component that we have in this release is the org chart. So it kind of does what it says on the tin, honestly, which is great, but allows you to visualize the organization of a team or a group of teams in the tree-like arrangement. This is interactive. You can see kind of those pluses and minuses. When those are clicked on, they can expand, so you don't necessarily see the whole tree at once. You can kind of expand it. So if you are creating a map of your team, or perhaps you're just very interested in family history, the org chart is for you. And of course, we also got the pyramid chart. So again, I love when we name things that are exactly what they are, which it sounds silly to say, but sometimes I'm like, oh, is that a drop down or a select or a multi-select? And they are all different things, but they all sound vaguely similar. Pyramid chart is a pyramid chart, man. It is what it is, and it looks good and it's cute. You saw some of the interactions. Alyssa showed that wonderful GIF earlier. So like all of our charts, it's kind of interactive in that you can hover and be shown different things. But otherwise, just a new helpful way to visualize different types of data. And again, some of this is going to sound a little repetitive because a lot of times Angular and React will kind of get updates at the same time. Or
but
maybe
are
like,
your trend lines as cool as our trend lines?
They are, in fact, exactly the same trend lines, yes. Yes, and you'll see this again in the jQuery section because everybody got trend lines. They're handy. They're really nice because I think, like, you're right. It's good to kind of see how everything kind of evens out and to look away. You were mentioning in a conversation that we had earlier, like anomalies in the data, where you have like one really bizarre high note kind of thing that's like throwing you off. Trend lines are really helpful to kind of even all of that out. So definitely nice to have.
And I wanted to say from your poll earlier, Rob had a good comment of, I don't think not interested in server-side React is necessarily the case. Some of us are interested, but don't have the bandwidth to go there anytime soon. And I totally feel you on that, Rob. There's actually quite a bit coming out recently that I'm like.
I have honestly been feeling that way myself a little bit about React server components. I'm excited. I'm going to get to go to React conference up here in New York in November, and there's a panel on React server components, and I've got it like underlined in the schedule because I'm like, I gotta catch up on this. I am I don't feel like I understand it well enough to talk about it intelligently. So I'm
like the Angular team just updated how they do hydration so that like whether you're doing SSG or SSR, like that it's even better and there's like no flicker and things like that. So it's definitely something awesome. I feel is coming up in not like in many frameworks. It's I actually said recently that I think it's like a pendulum, right? Where we like swing back and forth and we were like, stop, only. Now we're like swinging back to the server side. But a friend of mine actually said that it's more like a spiral than a pendulum because like, yes, we're swinging back, but we've like learned and like risen,
we're like
right?
Growing a little bit each time.
We're
like
all
that.
The way up.
That makes me feel a lot better about it. Because yeah, we do the same thing, right? We're like micro front ends, like never mind. Like,
yep.
Actually, yep. I don't want to do that. So.
I feel you, Rob. I feel you on the time thing.
Oh man. Okay. Next component that we got, and I think this one, I'm curious, does Angular already have this, or is this one that we got new?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. Let me check. Let me check. You introduced it, and I'll let you know.
Yes. This is the form wizard, a multi-step form allowing you to kind of break down different parts of a form into a multi-step process. You're probably familiar with the wizard. Lots of software uses them, especially for like install processes or things that have multiple kind of distinct stages. But mostly it's really nice because from a user experience standpoint, when someone opens up a form and it's huge, your chances of someone filling that whole thing out goes way down. Just, it's been studied and we know that that's the case. There's this kind of information overwhelm that happens and people are like, ooh, later. However, when we break it down into manageable steps, and each step only has, in that like 3 to 5 number of questions, people are much more willing to attack it kind of in stages. This also offers possibly the chance for you to save on your side, on the development side, so that someone doesn't necessarily have to complete an entire form in one sitting. You can get through a couple of stages, log that data, they could come back and finish it later, which again, also great for retention and chances of someone actually completing an entire form. So really awesome. Did you find it in the Angular side, or
I'm not seeing it yet, so I think you might have gotten it first, but I would love if someone corrected me. Is it nestled under anything, or is it its own package? Do you know?
Ooh, I believe it's its own package, but okay. Let's look. Now I'm curious.
I know, because that would help me determine if I have in fact verified it does not exist. So I was like,
nope, it's nestled under form for us.
Oh. I was like, oh, we're so different in so many ways. I see, you have a form package. Interesting. Maybe it was because, is the form package brand new? Or have you always had it?
No, we've had the form for a while.
Okay. Because a lot of our form things are like nestled under like date inputs and things like that. So I don't think we have that one yet, but I'm excited to see when we do.
I bet R1 2024, you'll have a form wizard.
That
would be my guess. I'm not going to vouch for it because I don't know. But it usually tends to be like that. Within 1 or 2 releases, we'll be caught up.
I know. It's always interesting because I see on the different GitHub tickets of like, we're choosing you, Pikachu, to pilot this. And they have different frameworks piloting different, like leading the way on different features or components. So it's always like, are they just rolling a dice?
I also like to see when we have a bunch of different components that come together, because we do have a stepper like on its own. And so you could have like manually rolled your own multi-step form kind of thing, but now we've just kind of packaged it up and made your life that much easier. So handy. The other thing that we did to make your life easier is adding a new keyboard navigation utilities. So we have a utility component now that is specifically designed to help you kind of streamline accessibility implementation. So integrating keyboard navigation into any component, which could be one of our components. All of our components have built-in keyboard navigation. You can make some edits to those, but that's kind of how they come out of the box. But you can also use these with your own custom components. So if you need to roll up something that is completely new and unique to you, and you still want to make sure that it's accessible, which you should, then we offer this awesome set of keyboard utilities to help make that accessible without necessarily needing to use a mouse. So extremely handy. Now for some updates to existing components. We have added a drill down functionality in our bar charts. So you can click on any specific chart element and it will kind of drill down. You can see here in this GIF, we're kind of moving and you get the breadcrumb that appears along the top as you check in on company A or company B, and then you get kind of a breakdown further from there. So a neat way to make charts a little bit more interactive and kind of thread that line a little bit between what's a chart and what's an infographic. Interactive infographic. We also added a horizontal mode to our timeline. So previously that was a strictly vertical kind of situation. Now there's a horizontal mode. And again, you can still open and close things, scroll along. It's a handy component. We also improved keyboard navigation on the timeline. So you can easily navigate between timeline items, again, open and close things, interact with all the elements. We are really committed to making our entire library of components as accessible as possible, and keyboard navigation is just a huge part of that. So in addition to the utilities that are there for you, we're also constantly making improvements in our own components. This is one of them. You can now do drawers on the left and the right, even at the same time.
Wait, two same time?
Two drawers at the same time. It's drawer pandemonium over here. more drawers than you know what to do with. But you can see in this GIF kind of switching back and forth between drawers on the left, drawers on the right. But yeah, great, especially for like mobile interfaces where you're trying to save space and be as compact as possible. Drawers for everyone all around. Also handy for your right to left, left to right swaps. So think about that. We now have added disabled items in a whole bunch of components. Dropdowns, autocompletes, combo box, dropdown list, and multi-select, all of which I will say I went and took a bunch of screenshots and I was like, these look extremely similar. The differences are in their behavior. So all of these components now offer the possibility to disable certain items. So you can kind of see here, right, medium and extra large, not selectable. So a great way to kind of narrow things down, especially if you're doing like e-commerce kind of things when things go out of stock. Excellent for that.
I wanted to mention quite a few people are asking if there will be a recording of this, and some people are having connectivity issues and can't hear us, and so there is one, and we are recording, and we will send it out in the follow-up email in case you were wondering. And there was a question. Let's see. Oh, yes, it was about your GridHelper. And so I thought it would just be interesting to like let everyone know the question and the answer from the team. Does the GridHelper support the grid context menu that was mentioned earlier? And the current version does not, but they're recording this feedback, and they will consider providing context menu configuration for it in the future. And then I think there was one other regarding, sorry, I was trying to find it. I will bring it up when I find it. But yes, that was
Thanks
an interesting
for keeping an eye.
Yeah.
No, good call out. All right, update to our breadcrumb in that now there are a couple of kind of preset sizes you can move between small, medium, and large breadcrumbs. Again, good for responsive environments where you can have a nice large breadcrumb when you have a nice large screen and then size it down for a more compact view as needed. The Gantt pop-up edit form has been redesigned for a better experience. So you now have some more options for adding tests, dependencies, resources, and it all looks nifty. And then a couple small items to the grid. I think I forgot to update the, the title of that other one. That should be section aggregates. My bad. Tab column menu and section selection aggregates. So the tabbed column menu offers you a little bit more flexibility, better user experience when you're handling lots of column settings within the grid. Selection aggregates, however, enable you to choose single or multiple cells and then calculate metrics based on exclusively the data that you have selected. So you can display those as part of the grid, or you can like connect them out to other elements in your application so that they can update. So for example, we were talking a little bit about the charts before. So that could be something handy if you wanted to do that, right? You could be connecting the data that you're selecting out into a chart and creating custom charts. Really cool. Everything works and plays well together, which is, I think, one of the benefits of using a big pre-made library like this. A lot of stuff is just plug and play. Whew, we made it. We made it through the React updates. And as a reward, I have for you another poll. Are you planning a migration of your React application to Vite or Next.js? So please, if you will, select one of the following. Yep, gonna use Vite. Yep, gonna use Next.js. Or you're already using Next.js, you're already using Vite, or just no, we're happy. We're not going anywhere. We got a system that works and we don't need to mess with it.
Or maybe, no, it's not a priority for this, this next year just because of time.
Or, no, I'm using something else, in which case, tell us in the chat. We want to hear.
Yes.
What do you prefer?
We want to hear.
If you have found the answer to spinning up new React applications that's not Vite and is not Next.js, I want to know. Well, it's one of those, I don't know for sure the reasoning behind this, but I would guess we created some tools around Create React App which used to be kind of the recommended way to roll up new React projects. Recently, semi-recently, that's been kind of depreciated, and it's no longer the recommended method as per the React team. So these are kind of two different approaches to starting up new React projects now. And we're curious what you're using. So let's take a look.
Earlier from your previous poll, Jerry said they're doing React SSR via Next.js. So that's combining both.
Most people not currently planning a migration. That would be the long shot answer right here. And then a handful of folks planning to make a move and a handful of folks already using it. So I'm curious. I've played around with Next.js a fair bit, but not so much with Vue. So one of these days I will be happy to see. Oh, and there's somebody in the chat says it'll be Blazor. So it'll be thrilled to hear that.
Got him.
Moving away entirely.
So one last question on React things before we go to the next is, can you print the equation for the trend line? And the team answered, not yet, but this feature is actually coming soon. And not only that, they are working on additional trend line types. So something to look out for.
So yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up with a quick shout out to our Twitch channel. So if you haven't hung out with us, this is where we live stream. We do little release parties, we do special events, and sometimes we just get on there and hang out and code and chat with each other. So it's a fun place to be, twitch.tv/codedlive, or you can catch all the recordings as well as some tutorials and all sorts of other stuff that we make around the Kendo products, youtube.com/Kendo UI TV.
And we are going to be live next week, all day in person, because we are hosting DevReach in Bulgaria. There are still tickets available if you are local or near Sofia and can make it out. But yeah, we'll be live streaming as well. So check us out on Coded.
The other thing that I like to conclude with at the end of these is a reminder that we tell you what's coming. And so as much as we like to hype these up, they don't have to be a surprise. You can always check out our roadmap. You can make recommendations, which we actually really love and take very seriously. And that really helps us shape the plan for the next year. So if you want a sneak peek of what's coming in 2024, or you have an opinion about what should be coming in 2024, we would quite genuinely love to hear it. So check out our What's New section, take a peek at our roadmap, make a feature request or submission, and yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Excellent.
All right, I'm handing it back over to Done.
jQuery. Apologies to the jQuery lovers. You are right. I did switch up the agenda last minute on you, and that was unfair. I am taking the feedback and will make sure I'm very rigorous with our schedule next time. Apologies. I'm used to streaming on Twitch where it's really the Wild West. You can do whatever you want with the content, but I do realize that pre-planned and booked time and things like that are important. So we are going to cover the jQuery bits now. There is a new drill down chart, and let me collapse this real quick so we can, yes. jQuery charts are now enriched with the beautiful drill down functionality. You can easily click on a specific chart, like the bar, the pie, etc., and navigate to a detailed view containing more information. So like in this, it's kind of hard to tell what's going on here in this GIF, but you're clicking on the bar and then it nestles, you can see in the breadcrumbs. So it goes from home to home company A, because you're now viewing more information about company A, product 1 and product 2. So honestly, before the drill down functionality was released in the Kendo UI components, I didn't even realize this was like a thing that people wanted, or like, did you know this was a thing, Kathryn? Like that you nestle charts within charts? Like,
I have seen charts nestled within charts. I did not know that it was necessarily a request. And hold on, if you want, I've pulled up the docs so we can take a look at it.
Yes.
In the example.
Yeah. I'm going to pass it. Can I pass it? Can you?
I can take it.
it with the buttons. Excellent.
Boom. So yeah, here's a look at the chart. So you can see now when you hover on either one of these, they kind of become selectable, and you can click and you get this breadcrumbs that are kind of generated along the top, and you can click the home button to kind of come back. So
I'm curious, like, if you should limit yourself to how many, like a nest within a nest.
I mean, I think that's the perk of having these little breadcrumbs that automatically appear above the top, is you're never really going to get lost. And these components are going to work the same. This kind of user interaction pattern, right? The way that this is working is the same across Angular, jQuery, React. So you'll get the breadcrumbs, you'll get the interactivity. It's just handy. So,
nice.
I like it.
There's a question in the chat about the React spreadsheet. Whenever we get an answer from the team, will you announce it? Because I'm like super curious. I'm like also curious, and it's comparing the React spreadsheet with the jQuery spreadsheet and wondering when they'll have feature parity. So that's a good question. The pyramid chart, surprise, surprise, was also added to jQuery, and actually, Kathryn, there was a really cool comment, and I love it. Like, I am all for feedback on not only like our components, our features, but even like our webinars, our live streams, like what you need from us. I love that.
I saw that one about combining. I like that.
And someone had a brilliant idea, probably the most brilliant idea that's ever been ideated, to combine like things so that we can just say, like in the beginning, right, these components are covered now under these frameworks. And I think that's, I mean, as long as you're on board, Kathryn, I am 100% on board. And I think that would open us up to a little bit more programming time so that we can like dive into the code. So if you're down, I'm willing to try it for the next one. So.
I think we'll have to take a look. I think historically we haven't, because we do know that some people will like get the reporting and then jump ahead. So like if you
jump ahead, that's true.
If you use React and you don't use Angular or jQuery and you're not necessarily interested in overlap between the two, you're just like, show me what's happening in the React world. Then
yeah, that makes sense. That I didn't think about that, the fast forwarding. Okay, all right.
I just want to give you a reason that,
yeah,
I know it sounds repetitive, but there is purpose behind it.
Excellent. Now that's a really good note. A good note. Okay, so we also in jQuery got the DockManager, replicates docs. You can think of something cool. Like the doc in Visual Studio, for instance, right? That side doc, that's similar to this. And once rendered, the docs can be moved, docked, pinned to certain areas, and when moved, a doc management overlay pops up, allowing to add the pane to like the top, the right, the bottom, or the left. And so, as you can see in this GIF, so the DockManager, new component, very exciting. Kind of for me, I'm like, man, this opens up the potential of so many nested components and things. Like, I love it. I love it though.
I want to know when we're gonna get it in React. I love it. I want mine.
I want to say this was one of the ones that was like, we're going to pilot it in jQuery. Yeah, here it is. Here are the details. I copied this from the GitHubs.
Look at that.
I thought it was really interesting. The DockManager, so it's intended to be a UI component that replicates docs, think the Visual Studio type doc. But this component, I thought it was really cool because they're thinking for people who are using like Telerik components on the .NET side, it's going to make it easier for them to migrate from things like WinForms, WPF, Silverlight over to jQuery. And so MVC or Core. So I just thought that was an interesting tidbit on the doc.
That's really cool. Yeah.
All right. Next up, update on keyboard navigation improvements. In this update, we've taken substantial steps to improve the keyboard navigation for jQuery TreeList, Gantt, Pivot Grid, and the filter components. And then users can effortlessly unlock the full array features using their keyboard. And here's a QR code if you'd like to read more about this in the docs. I'm going to.
Yeah, this was all part of our WCAG 2.2 compliance. So
yes,
bringing everything up to par.
I saw some compliant, there was actually 2 compliant questions during your design section. So I don't know if you want to scroll up and see if either are worth like bringing up again, but they were like more detailed about the CSP.
Yeah, the team has been really good at handling that. I did take a look at those. A lot of them were kind of specific where they're like, well, I have this or this that we need for our particular app. In general, again, let me throw out a round of applause for our support team and our devs, because they are fantastic at answering questions. And if you ever are curious about whether something would work for your app, or you need a specific thing, or you're trying to hit some specific compliance type, our support team is great for that, and we can absolutely help you. So.
Excellent. Another update for the jQuery library, we have grid draggable interaction alternatives. So it offers users a more accessible experience with single pointer operations, and aligns better, like we were talking about, with WCAG 2.2 and reaffirming our commitment to accessibility. So, excellent. Another update. Grid context menu. You may have seen it before, or maybe you jumped to this portion of the stream. But the Kendo UI for jQuery Data Grid now has the ability to display a context menu. And in this, it's right-clicking to pull up this menu. And it provides a convenient way to apply data processing operations, like, as you can see in the pop-up, add, edit, delete, and then also the ability to select and reorder rows or export the entire grid to a PDF or Excel file. Another update, grid row and column spacing. So now you have the ability to span a cell between multiple rows, as well as to span multiple columns. And you can see some chunky boys in the screenshot.
Chunky boys.
Chunky boys. Excellent. I'm curious if we can do this. I wonder. I need to go find out if Angular can do that. But do we have this spanning ability?
I know. I feel like KendoReact has spanning, but I don't want to make any promises.
Oh. There would be rioting in the streets.
I always feel really sure about our capabilities until I'm on the air. And then I'm like, what if I'm wrong? Then all of a sudden I'm like, what year is it? What's my name? What do I know? Nothing.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Another update for jQuery, grid tabbed column menu. So a tabbed column menu option offering improved flexibility and better user experience when managing the column settings within the grid. And you can go see that right now. Let me see. I'm wondering how far we have to go, because we might pull that up. Okay, we'll see. We'll see where we are.
Yeah, 5 till noon. So I think maybe we keep it chugging.
Gotcha. We'll keep going. We'll keep going. Chart Trendlines, yay! jQuery got them as
again?
well. I know. Which, of course, the trend line, at least the linear trend line, demonstrates a particular quantity increasing or decreasing over time, whereas there's also a moving average trend line that smooths out variations in data, which is my personal preference of trend lines, just in case you were wondering, because I don't want to see these outliers, okay? But the team did mention earlier that they are working on additional types of trend lines. So cool stuff coming up. Accessibility enhancements and CSP compliance. Kathryn went over this, but I will just reiterate that with this release, we continue to move forward on our efforts to improve our accessibility on not just jQuery, but on all of our Kendo UI and TreeList web components. So now ensuring compliance with YARIA Section 508 and the just released WCAG 2.2 standard. So yes, and then of course improving TreeList and Kendo products with the CSP content security compliance is one of our biggest goals for 2023. And I think, did we secure it? Are we? Because I know you said for React at least.
Yeah, so, I believe so. I think that's across the entire Kendo UI suite. Perfect.
And if you'd like a sneak peek of what's coming up, we do have the roadmap. So snap that QR code or type in all the way from TreeList support what's new to the roadmap. But yes, if you have any feedback, we do have a feedback portal for Angular or for any of the products, right? For jQuery, for React, for any of them, we want to hear from you. Our team really does take this seriously. So, yes, I can be found in a couple places, Code It Live that I mentioned, and then Angular Air on Fridays. So yes, come hang out with me. Would love to talk more. And my DM is always open on I don't honestly know what we're calling it these days. Zitter. But my DM is X. Is hardly what we're saying now, Kathryn.
Unfortunately.
But yes, ping me if you have questions or comments or feedback. Love to chat. I think we are ready for our final.
Ready for some Vue,
Yeah.
which means our wonderful special guest gets to come join us and give us the rundown on all things new in Vue.
Did you rhyme on purpose? Hi!
I did. Poet didn't even know it.
Hey, how are you?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Great. It's great to be here with you again. And I was watching with interest all the new stuff in React, in Angular, and jQuery, of course. Great new stuff, guys. Which are your favorite new components in the suite? Can you share with me?
I think actually, for me, I think it's actually the keyboard navigation utilities, which sounds like it's not like a fun, sexy new component or whatever, but it's really handy for when you're trying to create something that's totally custom and accessible. Implementing that kind of stuff is really tricky, and having a set of utilities kind of at your fingertips to be able to make sure that not only are you implementing good keyboard navigation, but it's going to be the same experience. Like you're using the same patterns for keyboard navigation as we're already doing in the rest of our components. So it feels really unified with everything in our library. That's really cool. Okay, ran over. Sorry. Thank you.
And it's very difficult, by the way, all the time. That's why we are good in that. So I will go very, very quick and share what we have in Vue with this release. And try to be very quick. Of course, it's getting late here in Bulgaria, at least. So here is what we have for our new release. It was a major release, 4th version. That's why we did a little bit of changes. We have a new text box and input components that are a bit updated. We have ActionSheet Native component. Of course, the pyramids. We already saw it, the trend lines.
Pyramids all around, yes.
We have the adaptive rendering for our dropdowns. That is another amazing update. And also, we have the new update to our Kendo 7.0.0 themes that are the new ones without the fonts. If somebody is not aware yet, we don't have the fonts in the themes. They're separated. So that's the important new update for all of our components. Also, we continued our efforts in the accessibility, ThemeBuilder, and Nux3 fixes and updates in Vue. Nux3 is something like the next, if you remember, guys. So here is the new thing about the text box in the input. We had one kind of input, but from the new version, we separated them for two ones. One is the one that a text box that can be updated with new images, with prefixes, suffixes. You can add button in front of that. You can add several things in front of the input. You can add easily more things after that and use them as you want in your form. And the simple one is just the input, is just an input tag, and we needed to separate them because some of the customers need something more customizable. The other ones just want a very simple and stout element. The next one is our the next one is our action sheet. It's a cool element that actually helps you show some elements in more concise screens, and that is actually the building part for our adaptive dropdowns that I will show you later. The next thing is the pyramid chart. By the way, if anybody is wondering why we have everything in all of the teams, that's because we have a great charts team, and that are some of our colleagues, developers that are very into charts, and they are doing all the engine behind of that and making that available for all of the teams at once. So that's one of the most important parts in our Kendo teams now. So I want to say kudos to all the charts team.
Nice.
The are doing amazing job there. Lots of new stuff coming in the next release, by the way. So let's greet them. Here are the trend line support. They are the same as in React and Angular. That's a great new updates for the charts. And here are the how the adaptive drop-downs look. This is something new for our Vue suite. It's part of our effort to be more responsive and to make it easy for everyone, no matter what device it is, to quickly choose whatever they want from their form. That's a huge.
Do you enable it by default, or is it enabled by default, or do you have to like put an attribute?
You have property, and it's adaptive. It's called adaptive, and if once it's set on a small devices, smaller than we have some defaults, then some pixels. It's shown by default, but this can be configured as well. So that's a cool new feature that can be used without any effort, I would say, if any user of Kendo needs that. Next thing is the big thing is the change with the themes. So we just remove the font icons from the theme. They're separately. Now we have huge amount of font icons. They are a part of Kendo. And now they are moved just in a separate package. They are still available. They can be reached from CDN, from npm, but they are just not part of the themes of our teams. It was a huge effort by the teams team, and probably this is the place to also make a quick salute for the teams team. We also have a teams team that is doing everything there. You are great, guys. And just before we forget and go with the accessibility, I think we have a poll there. Can somebody help me with that?
Absolutely, I will get that poll started for you. Oop. Here we go. Do you use or plan to use Nuxt in your everyday products? This is an easy one. Yes or no?
I have used it, by the way, and it's a great effort by open source community, mainly built from people in Vue team, and that's a huge game changer for Vue community. If you want to use it, just go on. It's easy. It's great changer, allowing you to build on the server with the same amount of without adding more complexity. If you know Vue, you can straight away go and start with Nuxt. So I recommend it if somebody haven't tried yet. One cool thing about Nuxt is that you can just go there and use your MD files, and they will be rendered in your app. That's one of the cool features.
A small percentage, 7% of folks saying yes, they are using or planning to use it. The majority of folks still a no. Maybe something new they haven't tried yet.
That's great. Thank you, guys.
Hard to say.
Okay, so the other thing that we keep on improving all the time is the accessibility improvement. That's actually what makes us different from the other guys there, from the many of the open source libraries. Just don't have the amount of developers to always maintain, always keep up with the trends in the accessibility. That's what we are trying to do better than them. So it's one of our most powerful efforts. We have special testing. We have also dedicated specialists there. So it's a continuous effort to help make all the components as accessible as possible. Yep. The ThemeBuilder, I just like very much this tool. So always add it to my presentation. We just keep adding more components and to be compatible. All the components across Angular, React, and Vue keep sharing the same rendering, and that's why it's possible to have them in the ThemeBuilder and play with them very easy. And before the demos, I think I need to make another poll.
All right. Are you planning a migration from Vue 2 to Vue 3? Either yes, no, or you've already migrated. You're ahead of the team. Well, head of the crowd,
That's a very
maybe.
interesting question. I think that Vue 2 support, the official support is just around the corner. I think probably the end of the year. So I'll be very interested in these answers.
I'm curious. I'm not in the Vue community. How often do you get a new version like this? Is it, a yearly thing, or, once every few years, or?
It's actually once every 5 or 6 years. The Vue 2 was the main version that made Vue so popular. And then came the Vue 3 with the newest trends there. Now Vue 3 is the one, and it's already there for 2 years. But they are slowly removing the support from Vue 2.
Gotcha.
There are lots of people that are not in the Vue community, so thank you everybody for answering. So just a very few minutes, I will show you some demos around. That's the pyramid in our demos. If you saw it already, but here is something that you probably didn't see. it can be with dynamic height, and depending on how many items you have, you can change the different parts. Here is the trend line on our demos, and here is the action sheet. Here is the action sheet. That is quite a handy component. And actually, to be honest, if I start a new application, I don't want to implement it from scratch. I would use the Kendo one. Here is for example, the adaptive mode for the drop-down tree. You can just open this one, and you then select the element there. And of course, if you turn this down and you have space, you have it in the drop down. That's the idea. When you have space, you just use the normal drop down. Here is the text box that we shared. I will just show you how. Here is a little bit of the source. Here is the component, and we have the templates for the prefix and the suffix there. We have the button as a suffix and SVG icon as a prefix there. So here is the button, and here is that's how easy we can have a customizable text box there. And here is the poor little, just the input style with the components, but that's a very important component too if you are doing code forms. And these are the other responsive components: the drop-down, the combo box. They are basically with the same logic. The idea is to have something that is interactive and easy to use. It's actually quite tricky design, by the way, but it's a nice addition to the component. And that's it. I think that's it from me. Here are the small screens, medium screens, large screens, and we have some settings for them. Last but not least, probably I will just want to answer a question from just a few minutes before for React. We have a merge rows in the grid, and it's a KB. It's a KB there, and we have these. We have the ability to have the rows and the columns merged as in the demo there. That's a very cool demo that is tricky to create also, but we have it there in the grid.
Well, awesome. Thank you for giving us the updates on everything new and exciting.
I was concise enough, and Vue is great.
Very cool. I think that is all that we have. Yes,
Yeah.
Is that all? We covered every section, all the components, all the features. Excellent.
Yep. Real quickly, I just want to highlight before we sign off that every release we have a vlog that will walk you through everything that's new. So feel free to check out the TreeList blog where you can see the R3 2023 highlights broken down for all the frameworks, everything we just covered, some of the highlights there, and then specific what's new pages for each individual framework. So if you want to see every little detail, you want to really dive into the change logs, this is where you can find links to all of that content. And of course, if you're interested, we have the TreeList webinar coming up tomorrow, I believe. Yep, tomorrow. And then reporting and debugging will be on the 20th. So if those things are of interest to you, it is not too late. You can still register right here on our R3 update blog. It has a link to that. So we hope to see you there.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Great comments and questions.
Yep. Have a good one. Thank you guys so much for joining us.